Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's TIA live stream, Intermodal Drayage in 2026, What Brokers Need to Know. We have a packed slate for you today. We're super excited for you to join us and hear from our panel of experts. With that, we have a few housekeeping items to get through. First, my name is Anthony. I'm the Senior Education Manager here at TIA. I can help with any questions you might have about TIA in the chat or any tech issues, anything like that. Think of me as the TIA admin here to help you. With that, we're going to move into the housekeeping with the antitrust statement. Discussion, comments, and presentations during TIA functions must not refer to any past, present, or future rates, prices, or anything related thereto. Include any reference to marketing strategies. Include any discussion of boycotts of any person, product, or firm. Or inhibit any members' employees from discussing employment with other member companies. Additionally, things you hear during the meeting that are confidential and private to TIA should not be shared publicly without its prior consent or used against or in competition with TIA. Next up, we have a few options for you to submit questions during the session. Wherever you are viewing this, whether that's LinkedIn or YouTube, feel free to put your question in there wherever you see fit, right in the comments. And if you would rather email your question directly to us, feel free to send it to education@tianet.org with the subject live stream. We'll aim to get to as many questions as possible, but we do have a lot of panelists as mentioned. So if we do not get to your question, please stay patient and we will aim to follow up with you after. When you want to review this recording, you can come back to the LinkedIn or YouTube event, which you are viewing from now. Additionally, you can also view past live streams through the TIA LinkedIn, such as the previous Intermodal Drayage events we've had a few months ago. If you want to see future live streams similar to this one, be sure to follow the TIA LinkedIn and YouTube channel for upcoming live streams and visit tianet.org to check out other member resources, some of which we will be discussing today. Additionally, check out the TIA podcast on Spotify for the audio-only version of this talk. With that, I will be introducing our panelists now and turning it over to Mr. Mitchell Hart. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mitchell Hart, Government Affairs Manager with TIA. Since we have so many panelists, I think it's best that we just get right into it. So I will kick it over to Kelly to introduce our speakers today.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. My name is Kelly DiNapoli. I am the National Account Manager with Roar Logistics. I work with strictly wholesale 3PL customers. And I'm also the chairperson of the TIA Rail Logistics Committee. So thank you for joining today. I do want to quickly go over who's going to be joining us on the call today, and then I'll go into some bios and some intros on the individual people. So we have Grant Withers with IMC Companies, Ray Mahacek with Innovative Intermodal, and then we have Ken Joy with Road One. And then also helping me moderate today is going to be Jeff Brashears, who is the Director of Intermodal Sales with CMA CGM, and then Christy Knitchell, who's our CEO and President at Knitchell Logistics. So thank you guys for joining. We've had some little bit of technical difficulties, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to introduce Grant. So Grant is with IMC Companies. He is the Director of Solutions over there. So a little bit of background on Grant. He is based in Memphis, has had a decade of experience working from operations, sales, and process improvement. So he started over at FedEx and spent about 5 years there working various roles in engineering and sales, also selling parcel and LTL services. And he's built a foundation that has given him great benefit with the operations side as well as the commercial side of transportation. For the past 5 years, he's been with IMC. He's covered everything from drayage, intermodal, depot, transload, and project-based freight. So as he moves between those operations, sales, and process improvement roles, he's able to bring efficiency to their customers and help them run their business day to day. So I like to kind of say that, Grant, you're probably a professional problem solver for them. So I'm going to kick it off to you, and you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, Kelly. I think that's a good way to summarize it, right? They, I like to say Mason and Robert, kind of the guys I report to, give me the problems that they don't necessarily want, right? So But I enjoy it, and we always have a good time serving our customers. So I appreciate it, and we can get right into it. Mitchell, you can go to the next slide. So just kind of a history on IMC, right? Number one marine drayage company in North America. Kind of our foundation is built on asset trucks, right? So we have trucks in basically every major port and rail ramp in the domestic United States, with over 50 plus locations, including dispatch offices and depots alike. We also have transload hubs in some of the major transload areas, and then service quite a bit of freight on the rail as well. So majority of our business is trucking business, but we do move quite a few boxes on the railroad. You can flip to the next one. Yeah. So I put this one in there because I feel like it's kind of a hot button, point, right after the Montgomery case, and sort of the liability that's now coming onto our brokerage arms, and really just kind of a point of clarity, right? At IMC, we've always vetted our carriers, right? We take that very seriously. We have a whole compliance department, a whole driver services department where we basically just ensure that our carriers are properly vetted, up to safety standards, have the right insurance documentations on file, have the right general liability on file, and we continuously monitor those carriers. So it's not like when we bring them on, right? We don't just stop, right? Our providers continuously monitor and make sure that their safety is up to standard, and it's something we take very seriously. So we like to reassure our customers that that's not something that we're just now starting. It's something that we have done historically, and something we take very seriously. So again, kind of just going over our services, right? So marine drayage at the top left, that's Mark George, our founder and owner, built this company 40 plus years ago, started here in Memphis as a marine drayage company. And then over the years, we've acquired multiple other trucking companies and sort of expanded throughout the entire domestic United States. So that is really, the core revenue driver at IMC is drayage. Like I mentioned, we do move a lot of cans on the railroad, right? So we are partners with all the Class 1 railroads and move boxes inland into all of our major hubs. Again, transloading warehouse. Most of our transloading warehouse facilities sit on the coast, but we also do have some inland as well. We do, and IMC was recently purchased, not so recently now, it's almost been a year and a half, by Kuhn and Nagel. But we like to say we're your domestic landside provider, right? So we can provide basically any service here in the domestic United States, door to door, and then with our partner Kuhn and Nagel, can partner with them to actually get it at the origin port and do whatever you need to get that box delivered, transloaded, flatbedded, whatever services you need. We can kind of handle it. We can move boxes, in bond, and have all the right processes for that. And then finally, I think one of the really cool things about IMC is we have an in-house IT team, so we don't really outsource our IT group. So we built our own TMS and our own visibility portal that you can track your container online, and really can do anything from integration to built our own app. Like I said, we built our own TMS. So our IT team is very robust. And then I think Jeff and Kelly asked us to kind of put in a couple differentiators, right? So what differentiates IMC versus another drayage carrier, another intermodal provider? So Mason George is my boss, and he actually patented this locking device. So you can see at the top on the picture on the right there's essentially a big piece of steel, right? And then in the corner castings of that lock is actually where the patent lives. And those, when you drop that lock into the container, the corner or the locking mechanism flips into the corner castings and holds it taut, so that it can't fall out. Obviously, theft has been a huge hot button topic. You could see at the top 1,500% increase since 2021 in theft. Something that IMC's felt, and I know a lot of our partners have felt. I'm sure a lot of the people on this panel would agree that theft has been a major issue. So we decided to try to do something about it, right? So we patented this lock. We've had over 3,500 successful container moves with this lock on the railroad. It's actually funny. I think Joel Henry, our CEO, put a stat out not too long ago talking about theft. I think it's 99.5% or more of our theft actually happens not in the control of IMC, right? So not on our truck, not on our depot. It usually happens on the railroad. And obviously our railroad partners have been working nonstop, and I think they have a really hard a fight against them. I think there are a lot of laws and whatnot that essentially don't allow them to keep the people, the thieves, in jail once they catch them. So basically, they're catching them and they're right back out stealing cargo again. And they also have a little bit harder of a job than us because we kind of know, right, what we need to protect. We have our depots, we can put fences around them. We can track our containers on the road. Obviously, all our drivers are our employees that we're, again, monitoring and bringing on in a safe way. But the railroad has, millions of miles of track that they have to protect. And ultimately, what's happening is these thieves have gotten quite sophisticated and are either cutting brake lines or finding areas when the train is stopping for a crew change, and they're basically hopping on these trains and cutting these boxes open. We've seen customers use sort of the red locks or the C locks that go on the bars. Those are pretty easily defeated with a handheld cutting tool, whereas our lock that we patented makes it much more difficult to get into the container. Really, the only way you can get into this can when it's on the railroad is actually through the sidewall, which again is possible, but it makes it a much harder process to unload the container. So if you have a thief that sees one of these locks and they say, "Oh, I want to get in this container," they're going to have to go through the sidewall, and they're not going to have an efficient way to unload the container, which has significantly reduced our incidents. Last time I ran the numbers, it was 11 to 46x reduction when the OVEX lock was on the container versus an SIR report that we were seeing in the past. So we're seeing a lot of success with this lock, and it's something we're proud of. And then the other differentiator I put in was our coil and metals business. So kind of over the last year or so, we've stood up a coils and metals division within IMC to move exactly what you see on the left of this slide on the railroads. With all the current market conditions and tightening of the truckload market, flatbeds has specifically been a market that's been hit hard in terms of capacity. And we've been able to sort of leverage our own pallet fleet, which is that green wooden / metal pallet in the picture, to move these coils on the railroad. And obviously you get the economic benefits of the rail versus a truck. So it's again, it's a fast growing business unit, and another thing that we're really proud at IMC. So this is kind of just a sell slide, right? So obviously we want you to use IMC. We're asset based. We have security, and we can handle specialized freight. But really what we want to do is solve your problems. I think Kelly said that at the beginning. That's my goal, right? Is you have a customer who's having problems, we like IMC to be the first person you call. I think that's it.
Well, thank you, Grant. I think it's pretty interesting about the solutions you guys are coming up with regards to the high value products and all the stolen goods that are happening on the rails and everything else. So I think it's pretty interesting and it's definitely unique. I'm just curious, this is outside, but like, I'd love to see later if you have like pictures or something of someone trying to break into the sidewall, if you have anything like that, because that also takes a lot more time, right? Like it takes a lot more time to get into it. And a lot of these thefts are done quickly. They're in, out, done. So
that's right. They want to keep their exposure as limited as possible. I actually do have a cool picture. I'll send it to the team after, of a train that was hit pretty hard. It was stopped, and there was quite a few Obex locks on it, and then there was quite a few containers without the Obex locks, and all the containers with Obex locks were not opened, and the ones that did not have the Obex lock were open. So it's a pretty neat real life, visual to show you how effective it really is.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. All right. I guess we'll go over to Ray because I'm not sure if Ken's technical difficulties are fixed yet. But we'll go ahead and start with Ray. So Ray is the founder and president of Innovative Intermodal. And he basically has had a passion for logistics since an early age when his family owned a trucking company in the St. Louis area. He's received a degree in business management from the University of Dayton, and he started his career in logistics and transportation with APL Lines, American Presidential Lines, where at that point he helped build APL's first drayage system, drayage management system called Drayman. After about 10 years at APL, he moved over to Pacer Stack Train, and he's held progressing roles there in logistics and transportation purchasing. So a lot of his experience in these positions have helped him identify the core and efficient processes that are the bedrock for innovative intermodal today. So thank you, Ray. Welcome. And we'll go ahead and listen to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you to the leadership at TIA as well as the TIA membership for allowing me to be here today and speak to you. It means a lot to me. So thank you very much. And thanks for the introduction. For innovative intermodal, I'm actually third generation. My grandfather owned an ice and fuel truck in St. Louis, and if you ever want to see a pretty cool picture, go to our website and under history, and you'll see it's a 1920 Model A, and that's what he delivered. And the way it used to work is they would deliver, ice in the summer and coal in the winter, and it was great. It was a great job for him, and it's been a passion in our family. My mother and father started a business in 1953 where, my dad was out driving the truck and my mother was home basically helping start the business. He would send money home, and that's how it worked. So, but anyway, I had a great opportunity in 2010 to open Innovative Intermodal. We started with 2 trucks, and we've grown steadily since. And maybe if we can move to the next slide. We're currently, and I'll have to say, compared to the other panelists, we are really like a boutique. The other panelists seems like thousands of trucks. We have, a tenth of that. We run about 100 trucks, Chicago, St. Louis, and Indianapolis. We are Midwest focused, and we serve both the domestic and international market. As mentioned, we established in 2010. We've grown steadily. The other thing that I think is very important for all of the TIA members to understand is, for us, we are primarily an asset-based carrier. So of those 110 trucks, 85 of those trucks, 80 to 85 of those trucks, all company trucks. We have 175 company chassis. Most of those, I'd say 140 of those are company owned, with the remainder long-term leased. And I specifically mentioned the chassis because if we all recall, during COVID, there was a tremendous pressure on chassis, and it really made so, it created some challenges, right? So, as information to, the membership here, keep that in mind, because, we always can't, we no longer rely on the pool operators as the only choice. We want to back that up to have our own assets so we can step in if need be. And then in Chicago, and we are, as mentioned, we are focused, our biggest location is Chicago. We have 3 locations in Chicago, and we do that for 2 main reasons. We've got a location near the old Legacy ramps in Chicago proper. We have a location near Indiana, and then we have another location near the West Coast locations, West Coast, BNLPC, UP Global 4. And we do that for quick, efficient yard pulls, which is always an issue. Also, a post-delivery of a load. And then we also do it for the drivers. Wherever the driver lives is where we put that, the closest yard to that driver. And it's a quality of life issue. And that's important. It helps with turnover. It also helps with driver satisfaction. And the way we view it, if a driver's happy, they're going to execute at a high level. So that's a little bit of our history and key facts. Next slide. And we built our business basically with the start of really kind of working on more difficult moves. And it may not, please all of our operations team, but, I would, we always lead with, give us your hardest move, give us your toughest move, your most difficult transaction. We can handle hazardous material, fireworks, ISO tanks. We actually run multiple loads daily that are, believe it or not, 95,000 pounds coming out of Iowa. It's meat and it's pork. We have a very large fleet of triaxle chassis to handle heavy 20s. And, in addition to the ISO tanks, we also can install flexi tanks as we're a certified installer. And we can, we do quite a few of those as well. It's actually a pretty good way to save some money on moving a 20 with a bladder inside or a flexi tank inside versus an ISO tank. As for fireworks, you need a certain insurance level to handle the fireworks. We have that level. And, we find it, many of our customers find it valuable that we handle these more challenging moves. Now, we're also very happy to do a drop and hook, that has an open appointment 24/7. Those are always appreciated. But, we recognize that everyone wants those. And, but we do like to work on the more challenging, difficult moves. And this is really kind of a pretty simple slide here. But I wanted to share with you a couple key things. In general, when you're choosing a drayman, a dray carrier, a partner, you really, especially now, as Grant mentioned earlier with the Supreme Court ruling, you have to really do some vetting. You need that satisfactory rating. Up until about 3 months ago, we had zero alerts out of 7. We have 1 safety alert out of 7 currently, and that's for maintenance. Maintenance is always a challenge in the intermodal industry relative, simply because we're of the pool chassis and we share those chassis and they get beat up, and it can be difficult. One of the most important things that I wanted to highlight to the TIA membership is, as you all know, we are required, as a drayman is required to carry $1 million in auto liability insurance. Now, auto liability insurance is the insurance that, if you run into somebody and hurt someone, that is the insurance that steps in and covers those claims, right? We are required to have 1 million. What we did is we increased that to 6 million. And the way we did it is we took the 1 million, we doubled it for basically like a basic $2 million auto liability insurance. And then we purchased what's called excess insurance, or an umbrella, of $4 million. And we layered those two things on top of each other. We did it primarily for a particular customer that was making the request of us. However, we also realized that we could have done a smaller segment of the fleet, but we felt, let's have this broader insurance to protect our entire fleet. But what happens and what it does is it gives the membership, it gives our customers a much higher level of protection on what's known as those very severe claims. They're termed nuclear verdicts, right? So when you're participating in a bad situation, most carriers just have $1 million. We have $6 million. So there's a very good chance that the lawyer or the plaintiff would actually ever get to the TIA member or even the actual shipper, the cargo owner. So in essence, we're standing in that gap on your behalf. It really was quite expensive. However, and I'll give you the numbers because I've never learned so much about insurance over the course of the last 2-3 years. But the $1 million insurance was about $400,000. To increase that to $6 million was $800,000. So it doubled our cost. However, we went from 1 million to 6 million. We felt it was an appropriate thing to do. It does allow us to haul other cargo, move other cargo that is of higher value, or we can now haul fireworks as well. So anyway, it was kind of a little bit of a deep dive into insurance, but I did feel that it would be worthwhile to the TIA membership to understand that, because Grant was correct. This it's a whole new ball game now, and we want to be a help to our customers and a protection to our customers when we can, and this is one way that we can do that. The note that Jeff sent to us was, there was 3 key words in there: capacity, optimization, and partnership. And just a kind of a real, and it's probably nothing new to everybody on this call, but there really is severe pressure on capacity. Give you a quick story. We have one driver named Freddie Naguro. He was a dreamer, came across from southern border from Nicaragua when he was 3 years old. It was 27 years ago. So that particular driver, he was a great driver for us, but he was a non-domiciled CDL owner. And as of March of this year, he no longer has a CDL. Now, there's pros and cons to that. It's really unfortunate because he was a fine driver and now he's having to do something else. But that's just one example of what's occurring, in the industry. This really isn't a demand. Demand is strong, but it's more of a driver capacity issue. So we're seeing severe pressure on capacity right now. For us, optimization, and this goes back to the TIA membership that's on the call. When you are reaching out to a drayman, the things that we're going to like is 24/7 drop and hook, boxes always on wheels, just make the move simple. But what really is important to us is we want to find a reload for our import load or vice versa. So when we're delivering, for example, we do a lot of cargo, and again, we're kind of almost a boutique drayage company compared to the rest of the panel here. We're doing loads down to Indianapolis. What would be really valuable for someone like us, or really anybody on the call, is to find a one-way load coming back out of Indianapolis. And that's optimization. That's where you can get a good rate from us. It'll be valuable to us or any drayman on the call here. But you can be very competitive with the cargo owner, right? So, and that really is, it's triangulate same day. So that's key. And then partnership. And this is we say this to our customers. I say this to our team members. we want to protect your margin to assist you in gaining business, right? So we're going to do everything we can to protect your margin, not come up with fees. We want you to make money, and then we want you to be able to. We want to help you win business, and then on the flip side, we want you to protect our margin and award us more business. And when there's a partnership, it's valuable. I cannot tell you how many blind copy emails I receive every single day from people that from freight, from brokers or whomever, blind copy, asking. They don't really have the freight, asking for rates. That's not really a partnership. That's a transaction. And maybe that worked when the market is super soft. The market is really strong now, and we truly value partnership because we're going to bend over backwards for the people that work with us. Communicate, execute, build trust, and grow relationships. That's what we try to do every day, and that's what we bring to the table. And I think that might be it. Okay. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Ray. Wanted to just ask you, do you also help do like crosstowns and local crosstown moves and things like that with the railroads and with some of your partners?
Yes, we will run quite a few crosstowns. So primarily, we in Chicago we do mostly 20s and 40s, 45s. So it's more the smaller box. In our St. Louis office, we do everything. We do 53s, 20s, 40s, 45s. But we will do the crosstown piece as well. And in fact, that's thank you for that. It's the way we're set up in Chicago, where the crosstowns are ideal for us because we've got those 3 locations. We've got drivers moving back and forth to all 3 of those locations, so we can be fairly competitive with the rates as well. But we're in all the rails on a regular basis, and those crosstowns really they work in nicely. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much, and definitely look forward to exploring a little more questions when we're done with Ken's presentation then too. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ken Joy, who is the domestic. He's VP of Domestic Intermodal Sales over at Road One. He's having technical difficulties today, so you're not going to see his face on video. However, he has participated on different lunch and learn sessions for us before, as well as he's also a member of our TIA Rail Logistics Committee, as well as been on the panel this past year too. So Ken, he started his career in 1985. So he was just going into junior high, I'm thinking at that point, and was based in Baltimore. So he started with a port drayage company. And from there, that drayage company moved him over to Pittsburgh, where he continued to work and manage the Conrail operations in Pittsburgh. He left trucking for a little bit, for about 14 years, where he did ocean carrier sales over at P&O Ned Lloyd, which was later purchased by Maersk. And then he returned back to trucking back in about 2010, where he joined Rose Transportation, and then that eventually became part of Road One, where he is now strictly focused on the domestic intermodal sales portion. So Ken, welcome, and sorry that we didn't get the video going today, but we'll let you go with your presentation.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. You mentioned how long ago I started this, explains my tech issues, but I apologize for that. But thank you for having me today. As Kelly mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Intermodal for Road One. We are a national trucking company servicing international intermodal, domestic intermodal, port drayage, and regional dedicated truckloads. So we do a lot of different types of trucking all over the country. We have 100 locations, 2,500 drivers, handle just over 1 million shipments per year. But the emphasis, we're not just drayage. We are also a warehouse provider now. We have strategic locations on key coastal inland and inland markets in the U.S. We have 4.5 million square feet of warehousing and transloading. So we can do a little bit of everything for everyone. If you want to jump to the next slide. So just like others have mentioned, I just kind of wanted to go through quickly some of the industry updates and why look at Road One. Our drivers are fully compliant. We are compliant with all federal state requirements for non-domiciled drivers and English-speaking drivers. As mentioned, it is a hot topic this year. This requirement and enforcement of these regulations are planning to eliminate up to 200,000 CDL drivers this year alone. I know Texas restricted or declined about 6,500 licenses just last week alone. So it is something to think about, something to be concerned about, and it will add to the capacity issues that everyone has talked about. As everyone mentioned earlier too, the recent Supreme Court ruling has eliminated a layer of protection for BCOs, the shipper of record. So what we have done, just like was Ray had mentioned earlier, we have increased our insurance limits as well to not only protect our customers, but our shareholders, our team members against any reasonable liability and cargo loss. So it is a big topic these days. It is a concern for everyone. And obviously carrier vetting is coming to the spotlight right now. We do have strong security standards. We are a bonded carrier. We are a CT-PAT carrier as well. All of our drivers are rated as DOT satisfactory, and our CSA scores are below the required threshold. We are fully compliant with the requirements of the new Combating Retail Crime Act as well. And I think this makes us a strategic partner, not just a transactional trucker for our customers. We're able to support our clients' overall supply chain with national coverage, strong financial backing, and true end-to-end service solutions. We can jump to the next slide. So I did want to bring up, we're talking about intermodal here right now. We are a national domestic intermodal carrier. We have relationships and interchanges with all railroads, with all IMCs, with all equipment owners as well. We are a partner with all the big IMCs across the country. We work hand in hand on their needs, and we try and help solve their issues that they have going on right now. I mentioned our extensive footprint. We do have a good existing volume of 53-foot inbound and outbound container flows. So we are able to work on matching up customers inbound versus outbound to, as others mentioned as well, reduce empty miles and just create efficiencies throughout the network. We've been doing this a long time too. So we pretty much understand intermodal. We know how to do it, and we know how to help you jump on board if that's something you're looking to do. Next slide. So intermodal, our growth engine. So absolutely, we're seeing intermodal. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. Intermodal shipping is definitely seeing an upswing driven by high diesel prices, tightened over-the-road trucking capacity, and a push for sustainable end-to-end multi-carrier logistics. So factors fueling this trend. Truck-to-rail conversions are a very hot topic over the last year, and I'm seeing a lot more of that coming into play right now. Elevated trucking costs, higher rejection rates on the truckload side of things, or having everyone look at intermodal as an option, and it is a viable option. The Class 1 railroads have greatly improved their services. There's digital integration involved with logistics or supply chain leaders to do a little bit better job at forecasting their needs, their demands, and allowing a little bit of extra time that may be needed to switch from a truckload to an intermodal move. We can go to the next slide. So with that being said, and talking about capacity constraints, drivers are absolutely our most important commodity. Retaining commercial truck drivers is driven by three core factors, and these sound very simple, but it's very important to think about these every day. Competitive and predictable pay, consistent home time for our drivers, and respectful treatment of their time are key factors. And I think we kind of lose sight of this from time to time. Replacing a driver is very expensive. So we try to build a driver-first culture focused on following key areas critical to keeping our fleet loyal and satisfied. So the guaranteed predictable pay, they want to know where they're going. They want to know where they're going every day. They don't want to show up and say, oh, well, you need to be 600 miles from here tomorrow. You know, an intermodal carrier, an intermodal trucker is used to maybe 100, 150-mile radius. They want to know where they're going. They want to know what they're going to get paid. And they want to know they're going to be able to get home to make it to their child's recital or soccer practice that night. Drivers are people too. I have to keep reminding myself that. We should all remind ourselves of that. So we also try to improve the day-to-day work experience with the drivers. Communication is huge. We try to foster open communication with our drivers. We reach out to them and talk to them how they're doing, not just about their load they're handling that day, why they were late, why they didn't get there on time. It's really, hey, what's going on? How you doing? What's happening in your life? So, and let me know if we can help you with that. I was asked to kind of get out my crystal ball at the last slide, I believe, for the second half of 2026. I wish my crystal ball was clear, so is everyone, but intermodal is definitely experiencing strong demand. So tightening capacity, driven by truckload spot rates increasing, the widening cost spreads between rail and over-the-road trucking is something to seriously look at right now. So there are advantages to switching to intermodal for sure. Volumes are surging, especially we're looking ahead. Everybody kind of dreads the 4th of July weekend because it's kind of the beginning of peak or in the middle of peak. And it's a 3-day weekend, which usually stretches out to 4 or 5, 6 days. So it's always a challenging time operationally, especially on intermodal markets, but it's something to keep an eye on. But as volumes surge on the intermodal lanes, you're going to see capacity restrictions, which we're seeing right now, and we're going to see some congestion and some shortness, reduced availability of equipment in some key markets. So it's something to keep a close eye on. But for the TIA community, as you're talking to your shippers and you're bringing up intermodal as an option, please encourage them to reevaluate lane conversions. It is a good time to do this. I'm sure my IMC partners on the call will agree with me. It's a good opportunity right now. The service is good. There's a lot of really good dray carriers out there, and there's a lot of good cost savings to be had. That's all I have for you.
Well, thank you, Ken. And definitely, I was going to ask the question about the crystal ball, so I'm glad that you kind of brought that out to the forefront there. Do you have certain markets right now that you're feeling that you have, because demand is strong everywhere. I think we can all agree on that. Are there any markets, and I'll ask Ken and then all of you guys, I know Ray's more localized with St. Louis, Indy, and Chicago, but are there any areas where there is extra capacity right now that people should try to push? Or is everywhere on your network pretty much at capacity? Because it is pretty tight right now.
Well, I mean, I think the issue is maybe next day capacity could be limited in most locations. If I have a day or two to talk about this, so if you're making an intermodal booking, please get that over to me a couple of days in advance, and I'll get it on the board for sure. But yeah, same day, next day are a challenge right now. And that's pretty much everywhere. But, we operate 100 locations. Chicago is very busy. Atlanta is very busy. West Coast is very busy. But doesn't mean we can't get you capacity. And I'll be able to do that with a little bit of leeway, free time.
And I guess I'll let Jeff and Christy jump in too. But I wanted to also ask how many new customers are coming out of the woodwork coming to you guys right now? Are you guys getting, I know you value the partnerships, and we value the partnerships as well, as Christy and I being both with IMCs. How do you guys feel about these new customers coming to the board? Are you currently just maintaining your current customers and trying to keep those relationships whole?
Is that for me, Kelly?
If you want to start, and we can kind of just ask everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I can start real quick. I mean, a lot of these conversions are going to our IMC partners. So, Knichel and Roar and others are coming to us, with new lanes, new opportunities, and we're getting some I'm seeing test shipments come across, and the IMCs have been really good about telling me, hey, we're trying to convert this over. We want to use you here. Let's keep an eye on these couple test shipments. If they go well, they're probably going to convert that over to intermodal on a regular basis. And I am seeing that happen. it is absolutely happening right now.
Grant or Ray, do you guys want to?
Yeah, I would just echo what Ken's saying. He's kind of spot on, right, in terms of capacity and with new customers sort of transitioning over intermodal. We're feeling a lot of the exact same thing.
Yeah, and then for us, that is correct. I mean, St. Louis for us, and again, we just have 3 locations. So St. Louis for us had some capacity, but that's, a lot of that's dried up. And Ken's is absolutely correct. Next day is almost, it's almost out of the question. And really, and I will give, and this is a very odd measurement, or it's very unique to us, right? So during COVID, there was the 300, 400, 500, and I would look, so if we have 400 loads on the board at any time during, that's a good number. When we get to 300, that's not enough. When we get to 500, we're way too busy. During COVID, that number jumped to 1,200. Now, currently, right now, we have 900 loads on the board. So we're not to pre-COVID levels, but we're about 2/3 of the way there. So, there is some strong demand, but Ken also pointed out too that, there's absolutely benefit to utilizing the intermodal network. What we're trying to do right now to create, in essence, because you got to create more capacity. So we're actually trying to bring on more company drivers, bring on more independent contractors. We're not super great at independent contractors, but we're working on that. However, one tactic that we're utilizing that's worked out pretty well is the actual slip seat of a company asset. So, which means you've got a daytime driver that runs it from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then you bring in a nighttime driver that runs 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So that asset, in essence, doubles. Drivers particularly don't care for it. However, if you get the right financial number, it works. I mean, you can get them to do it. But that's the way we're creating additional capacity right now.
Okay.
I had a question briefly, and kind of, Ray, you went into it a little bit. So with all the non-domiciled drivers coming off the road and then all the intermodal conversion that's happening, what are other ways, I guess all 3 of you are looking at to find those drivers? Are there more drivers out there to bring on? Like, what does that look like for your companies?
I'll start that. I'd be happy to start that. So, one issue, and I'm uncertain as to the others on the call, but one issue that we have is our insurance company really doesn't like when we bring on a driver that has less than 2 years of experience. And I fight tooth and nail with our insurance company and basically say, no, that's not going to work for us. We need a portion of our fleet to be under 2 years, right? Even a portion of our fleet to come right out of school. Nobody likes to do it. Everybody gets nervous about it. However, someone has to train these people, to learn our industry, right? So taking drivers directly from school is one option. Taking other drivers with 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, that's what we try to do. But basically, we agreed, like, okay, there's a certain percentage that we won't go over. So that's one idea. I'll also say, Christy, and we're not an over-the-road carrier. It's a pretty easy, intermodal is a pretty easy sell to a driver who's running over the road, right? It's a quality of life issue. I mean, nobody wants to go out and drive 3,000 miles in a week and then be gone a month. I mean, you come back and say, hey, if you can provide something that's close to them in terms of pay, you can pull those guys back off the street. Even, independent contractors or company drivers. You do have some capital exposure in terms of, you can't go out and buy, $150,000 new day cabs. I mean, you're gonna have to get creative. That's why what we're trying to do is the slip seating is a great option. However, and again, the others on the panel will agree with this. Drivers hate it because, it's when they start to drive a truck, even if it's a company truck, it's their truck, right? They don't want to share their truck. They don't want to share their tools, the whole thing. But, new drivers right out of school is one option. And then for us, slip seating is the other option.
I can jump in on that as well. You mentioned about trying to get the over the road drivers back in to intermodal, which is a vast difference in what they do, and it does provide that quality of life, that work life to home life. It gets them home every night. But you look at some of the spot rates right now, and we're seeing drivers who had their own authority post-COVID, and chased that spot market for a while, are looking to do that again because they see these rates, they see what it is. They kind of forgot about the issues they had personally trying to run their own business back then, as far as collecting and other issues they had. So we are seeing some challenges with that, but they're also comparing the truckload rates, these spot rates versus the intermodal rates, which really haven't changed a whole lot over the last year or so.
Yeah, good
So
point.
it's a challenge for sure.
Grant, how about letting me change the subject for 1 second? Because I think your discussion of your door lock is so important right now. We see cottonseed loads broken into on the Santa Fe. The doors are hanging open because there's nothing in there to take. Will you take a minute and explain the process? Because I think what you do is pretty slick on how it works at origin and destination.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, we use our depots as kind of the on and off, right? So you are going to, in terms of cost, right, you do incur a pre-pull or a stop off on each side, which drives up the cost. But it's really simple, right? If you have off dock cargo and it's moving off dock already, we're basically pulling that box from the port and we're taking it to our Wilmington facility, which is where most of our theft is, kind of in that New Mexico area. That's where we see the majority of our theft. And we just pop that lock on with a forklift. It has a tool that essentially sits and it's almost like a bracket. You can kind of think about it like that. And it just lowers on. And then again, the way that patented lock works is it essentially just like twists into place into the corner castings to keep it essentially safe, right, on the container. And then it's just the reverse of that on the other side, right? So once it's dropped at the rail ramp, it makes its transit on the railroad. You incur that pre-pull on the other side. You use that forklift to pop it off. And then we reposition those locks essentially it's like a shelving system that will go back into an empty 40 that's going the other way, and then we'll put those locks back in LA. We obviously do see some theft up in the Chicago and in the corridor between Chicago and Newark, and then in Atlanta as well. But I would say those are kind of our main spots where we get hit.
Anybody else want to add? I know Jason Hilsenbeck just added a comment into our chat. And thank you, Jason, for watching and joining today. Jason Hilsenbeck is with LoadMatch and Drayage.com. So he basically is saying that, I'll just read his comment. So intermodal is not the same as drayage. And as for container drayage trucking, drayage demand nationwide is falling off its peak. It's still strong, but as of 2 weeks ago, the peak was nationwide about 2 weeks ago. So he shared some stats there too. So we're still seeing a lot of conversion coming over. Intermodal is still a much cheaper option in most lanes. Anything over 500-600 miles, anything going, intermodal is a great option. Anything that's going to the West Coast, most of the drayage or intermodal that we do talk about all revolves around 53s for the most part. But a lot of these carriers here right now on this call also service the 40-foot market. And those are those steamship line containers that also help where they have to go to the West Coast. And Jeff's a big advocate to getting boxes to the West Coast for his company. to LA, Oakland, Portland, Seattle. So whenever you come across freight that's going that direction, that's a heavier, dense product that it's going to weigh out before cubing out, or it's 18 to 20 pallets. A 40-foot option is a great option, and all three of these carriers have access to a lot of street turns, possibly. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. They have access to street turns. They have access to get depot releases, and you can see a lot of cost savings. Like going to the PNW right now, whatever you're paying total on a 53, you can probably save $800 going in a 40-foot. So same thing with the LA is more like $250, $300, maybe $400, and then Oakland's about $500 to $600 savings, I think. So it's something to really think about. It's something that not a lot of people try to do that conversion from a 53 intermodal into a 40-foot intermodal. But it's there, it's cost savings, and I just think it's a great option if you want to really go in front of a customer and let them see some numbers that are a lot different. Anything else, guys? Jeff, you've been pretty quiet today. I don't know.
I know. I was shocked.
I'll tell you what, I think this panel has been absolutely outstanding. A lot of good knowledge from what I consider to be three of the top carriers in the country. We use them all. And Kelly, I think you've done a great job organizing these people, and we're all giving you a hand because I don't know how to do it on my computer, but somebody can probably do it for you. So thanks to the three of you for joining us today. And Kelly, thank you for moderating.
No, thank you guys all. And Jeff, you're always a help, and Christy's always a help too. So thank you. Thank you guys. And I hope that we get to see you on more panels, more lunch and learns. Let us know when you want to sign up for another one, and we'll keep going.
Great.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity again. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Mitchell, for keeping us on track here.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And before we go, I just want to remind everyone, all the TIA members listening in right now, that we have our TIA policy forum here in Washington, D.C. in September 14th through 16th. Registration is open now. A lot of the topics we talked about today are the same topics that we are going to be talking to members of Congress about. What happens in a post-Montgomery world. Cargo theft will, as always, be a big topic of discussion. Independent contractor classification, a lot of the things discussed today. What can be done on capacity as well. So please register for that. You can do so at tianet.org. We did about 145 meetings with members of Congress last year. Hopefully we will do a few more this year, but we need people for those meetings. So please be sure to register for that event. It is always one of the best of TIA's events each year. Additionally, you can follow the TIA on LinkedIn and YouTube, where you're watching this right now, to review the recording of today's event. It will be available soon after our conclusion. And you can also view our past live stream there as well. Thank you to all of our panelists today and everyone from the committee for their great work putting this together. And we thank you for your attendance and participation. And we look forward to seeing you on our next live stream.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.